Listening to a podcast. The Marketing Institute publishes a podcast, and they were doing they were out last week. Paul and Mike were actually out last week, and they took the opportunity to do a pre-recording of the actual show, which kind of lands every Tuesday morning. So they did kind of a pre-recording of it, but basically looked at the last quarter of big news. And one of those was actually their number one was an article called "Something Big Is Happening" by Mr. Matt Shumer on February 9th. And I actually have that up on the screen and things like that. I think that this is so very, very important. I'm actually going to make sure I'm actually going to read it directly, because so many of our friends and family just have no clue of what is this tsunami of change that's occurring. And I'm not trying to underplay that, guys. I'm really being honest with you. So I'm actually going to take this and actually do a full article of it. But the summary or the title of my post here is going to be "The Most Valuable Person in the Room Right Now" by Matt Shumer, with thoughts from Chris Bernard. So that would be yours truly. Um, I'm just going to read some of this stuff because literally I don't want to miss anything in terms of content. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read my little excerpt here, and then I'm going to actually read Matt's actual full article. It's not very long, but Matt Schumer's piece isn't just about software. It's about a phase shift in the human experience to reach all humans while staying true to our mission, to my mission of building legacies. I'm going to leave you with three major focus points for surviving, not just surviving, but also steering change. Okay. So I'm actually going to read the article, and then I've got a couple bullet points I want to be able to take away with you here so that you can be tangible and active in terms of how this can be implemented in your own life, in your own business, in your own mind. Because, guys, we're going to have to reconcile this stuff. So, and this is published by Matt Shumer. "Something Big Is Happening," February 9th, 2026. Okay. This, again, was out of the 10 big trends, according to the Marketing Institute Smarter X. This is the number one big thing. And these guys, if you don't actually subscribe to the podcast show, please do. It's fantastic. But this was their number one big trend in the last quarter here of 2026. So think about to February 2020. If you were paying close attention, you might have noticed a few people talking about a virus spreading overseas, but most of us weren't paying close attention. The stock market was doing great. Your kids were in school. You were going to restaurants and shaking hands and planning trips. If someone told you they were stockpiling toilet paper, you would have thought they'd be spending too much time on the weird corner of the internet. Then, over the course of about 3 weeks, the entire world changed. Your office closed. Your kids came home. Your life rearranged itself into something you wouldn't have believed if you'd described it to yourself a month earlier. I think we're in this seems overblown, end quote, phase of something much bigger than COVID. I spent 6 years building an AI startup and investing in the space. I live in this world, and I'm writing this for the people in my life who don't, my family, my friends, the people I care about who keep asking me, quote, "So what's the deal with AI?" end quote. And getting an answer that doesn't do justice to what's actually happening. I keep giving them a polite version, a cocktail party version, because the honest version sounds like I've lost my mind. And for a while, I told myself that it was a good enough reason to keep what's truly happening to myself. But the gap between what I've been saying and what is actually happening has gotten far too big. The people I care about deserve to hear what is coming, even if it sounds crazy. I should be clear about something up front. Even though I work in AI, I have almost no influence over what's about to happen, and neither does the vast majority of the industry. The future is being shaped by a remarkably small number of people, a few hundred researchers at a handful of companies: OpenAI, Anthropic, Google DeepMind, and a few others. A single training run managed by a small team over a few months can produce an AI system that shifts the entire trajectory of the technology. Most of us who work in AI are building on top of foundations we didn't lay. We're watching this unfold the same as you. We just happened to be close enough to feel the ground shake first. But it's time now. Not in eventually we shall talk about this kind of way. It is a quote, this is happening right now, and I need you to understand it, end quote, way. I know this is real because it happened to me first. Here's the thing nobody outside of tech quite understands yet. The reason so many people in the industry are sounding the alarm right now is because this already happened to us. We are not making predictions. We're telling you what already occurred in our own jobs and warning you that you're next. For years, AI had been improving steadily, big jumps here and there, but each big jump was spaced out enough that you could absorb them as they came. Then in 2025, new techniques for building these models unlocked a much faster pace of progress. And then it got even faster, and then faster again. Each new model wasn't just better than the last, it was better by a wider margin. And the time between new model releases was shorter. I was using AI more and more, going back and forth with less and less, watching it handle things I used to think required my expertise. Sound familiar, guys? Then on February 5th, two major AI labs released new models on the same day. GPT 5.3 Codex from OpenAI and Opus 4.6 from Anthropic, the makers of Claude, one of the main competitors to ChatGPT. And something clicked. Not like a light switch, more like the moment you realize the water has been rising around you and is now at your chest. I am no longer needed for the actual technical work of my job. Let that settle in for just a second, by the way. I describe what I want built in plain English, and it appears. Not a rough draft I need to fix, the finished thing. I tell the AI what I want, walk away from my computer for 4 hours, come back to find the work done. Done well. Done better than I would have done it with myself, with no corrections needed. A couple of months ago, I was going back and forth with AI, guiding it, making edits. Now I describe the outcome and I leave. Let me give you an example so you can understand what it actually looks like in practice. I'll tell the AI, quote, I want to build this app. Here's what it should do. Here's roughly what it should look like. Figure out the user flow, the design, all of it, end quote. And it does. It writes tens of thousands of lines of code. Then this is the part that would have been unthinkable a year ago. It opens the app itself. It clicks through the buttons. It tests the features. It uses the app the way a person would. If it doesn't like how something looks or feels, it goes back and changes it on its own. It iterates like a developer would, fixing and refining until it's satisfied. Only once it has decided the app meets its own standards does it come back to me and say, quote, it's ready for you to test, end quote. And when I test it, it usually is perfect. I'm not exaggerating. That is what my Monday looked like this week. But it was the model that was released last week, GPT 5.3 Codex, that shook me the most. It wasn't just executing my instructions, it was making intelligent decisions. It had something that felt, for the first time, like judgment, like taste. This inexplicable sense of knowing what is right call is that people always said AI would never have. This model has it, or something close enough that the distinction is starting not to matter. I've always been early to adopt AI tools, but the last few months have shocked me. This new AI models aren't incremental improvements. This is a different thing entirely. And here's why it matters to you, even if you don't work in tech. The AI labs made a deliberate choice. They focused on making AI great at writing code first, because building AI requires a lot of code. If AI can write the code, it can help build the next iteration or next version of itself. A smarter version, which writes better code, which builds an even smarter version. Making AI great at coding was the strategy that unlocks everything else. That's why they did it first. My job started changing before yours, not because they were targeting software engineers. It was just a side effect of where they chose to aim first. They've now done it. and they're moving on to everything else. The experience that tech workers have had over the past year of watching AI go from helpful tool to does my job better than I do is the experience everyone else is about to have. Law, finance, medicine, accounting, consulting, writing, design, analysis, customer service. Not in 10 years. The people building these systems say 1 to 5 years. Some say less. And given what I've seen in just the last couple of months, I think less is more likely. But I tried AI and it wasn't that good. I hear this constantly. I understand it because it used to be true. If you tried ChatGPT in 2023 or early 2024 and thought this makes stuff up or this isn't that impressive, you were right. Those early versions were genuinely limited. They hallucinated. They confidently said things that were nonsense. That was 2 years ago. In AI's time, that's ancient history. The models available today are unrecognizable from what existed even six months ago. The debate about whether AI is really getting better or hitting a wall, which has been going on for over a year, is over. It's done. Anyone still making that argument either hasn't used the current models, has an incentive to downplay what is happening, or is evaluating based on an experience from 2024 that's no longer relevant. I don't say that to be dismissive. I say it because the gap between public perception and current reality is now enormous. And that gap is dangerous because it's preventing people from preparing. Part of the problem is that most people are using the free version of AI tools. The free version is over a year behind what paying users have access to. Judging AI based on free tier ChatGPT is like evaluating the state of smartphones by using a flip phone. The people paying for the best tools and actually using them daily for real work know what's coming. Just a side note here, guys. Only 5% of people that use ChatGPT are paid users. 95% of them are unpaid users. Recent study. Okay. So, again, you guys are not seeing it. All right. So, back to the article. I think of my friend who's a lawyer. I keep telling him to try using AI at his firm, and he keeps finding reasons it won't work. It's not built for his specialty. It's made an error when he tested it. It doesn't understand the nuance of what he does, and I get it. But I've had partners at major law firms reach out to me for advice because they've tried the current versions and they see where this is going. One of them, the manager partner at a large firm, spent hours every day using AI. He told me it's like having a team of associates available instantly. He's not using it because it's a toy, he's using it because it works. And he told me something that stuck with me. Every couple of months, it gets significantly more capable for his work. He said if it stays on this trajectory, he expects it'll be able to do most of what he does before long. And he's the managing partner with decades of experience. He's not panicking, but he's paying very close attention. By the way, that's good advice for all of us. Don't panic, but pay close attention. The people already in their industries, the ones actually experimenting seriously, are not dismissing this. They're blown away by what it can already do, and they're positioning themselves accordingly. How fast this is actually moving. Let me make the pace of improvement concrete, because I think this is the hardest to believe if you're not watching it closely. In 2022, AI could do basic arithmetic reliably. It would be confidently telling you that 7 times 8 is 54. In 2023, it could pass the bar exam. And by 2024, it could write working software and explain graduate level science. By late 2025, some of the best engineers in the world said that they had handed over most of their coding work to AI. And February 5th, 2026, new models arrived that made everything before them feel like a different era. If you haven't tried AI in the last few months, what exists today would be unrecognizable to you. Now, there's an organization called Meter. It actually measures this with data. They track the length of real world tasks measured by how long they take a human expert that a model can complete successfully end to end without human help. About a year ago, the answer was roughly 10 minutes. Then it was an hour. then several hours. The most recent measurement, Claude Opus 4.5 from November, showed the AI completing tasks that take a human expert nearly 5 hours. And that number is doubling approximately every 7 months, with recent data suggesting it may be accelerating to as fast as every 4 months. But even that measurement hasn't been updated to include the models that just came out this week. My experience using them, the jump is extremely significant. I expect the next update to Meter's graph to show another major leap. If you extend that trend, and it's held for years with no sign of flattening, you're looking at AI that can work independently for days within the next year, within weeks within 2, months long projects within 3. Amoy, Amodai, has said that AI models, quote, substantially smaller than almost all humans at almost all tasks. Substantially smarter, sorry. Quote, substantially smarter than almost all humans at almost all tasks, end quote, are on track for 2026 or 2027. Let that land for a second. If AI is smarter than most PhDs, do you really think it can't do most office jobs? Think about what that means for your work. AI is now building the next AI. There's one more thing happening that I think is the most important development and the least understood. On February 5th, OpenAI released GPT 5.3 codecs. In the technical documentations, they include this. GPT 5.3 codex is our first model that was instrumental in creating itself. The codex team used early versions to debug its own training, manage its own deployment, and diagnose test results and evaluations. Read that again. The AI helped build itself. This isn't a prediction about what might happen someday. This is OpenAI telling you right now that the AI that they just released was used to create itself. One of the main things that makes AI better is intelligence applied to AI development. And AI is now intelligent enough to meaningfully contribute to its own improvement. Dario Amodei, maybe Amodei, that's who it is, Dario Amodei. Sorry. Actually, I've just heard his name. I've never actually seen it written, I don't think. Dario Amodei, the CEO of Anthropic, says AI is now writing, quote, much of the code, end quote, at his company, and that the feedback loop between current AI and next generation AI is, quote, gathering steam month by month, end quote. He says we may be only, quote, 1 to 2 years away from a point where the current generation of AI autonomously builds the next, end quote. Each generation helps build the next, which is smarter, which builds the next faster, which is smarter still. The researchers call this an intelligence explosion, and the people who would know, the ones building it, believe the process has already started. What this means for your job. I'm going to be direct with you because I think you deserve honesty more than comfort. Dario Amodei, who is probably the most safety-focused CEO in the industry, has publicly predicted that AI will eliminate 50% of entry-level white-collar jobs within 1 to 5 years. And many people in the industry think he's being conservative. Given what the latest models can do, the capability for massive disruption could be here by the end of this year. That's 2026, guys. It'll take some time to ripple through the economy, but the underlying ability is now arriving. This is different from previous waves of automation, and I need you to understand why. AI isn't replacing one specific skill. It's a general substitute for cognitive work. It gets better at everything simultaneously. When factories automated, a displaced worker can retrain as an office worker. When the internet disrupted retail, workers moved into logistics or services. But AI doesn't leave a convenient gap to move into. Whatever you were trained for, it's improving at that too. Let me give you a specific example to make this tangible. But I want to be clear that these are just examples. This list is not exhaustive. If your job isn't mentioned here, that does not mean it's safe. Almost all knowledge work is being affected. Legal work. AI can already read contracts, summarize case law, draft briefs, and do legal research at a level that rivals junior associates. The managing partner I mentioned isn't using AI because it's fun. He's using it because it's outperforming his associates on many tasks. Financial analysis. Building financial models, analyzing data, writing investment memos, generating reports, AI handles these competently and is improving fast. Writing and content, marketing copy, reports, journalism, technical writing. The quality has reached a point where many professionals can't distinguish AI output from human work. By the way, just to let you know, when they test AI content, AI driven content from human written content, people statistically prefer the AI driven content by about a margin of like 5%. That's gone on right now, guys. They prefer that content. Okay, that's a side note. Back to the article. Software engineering. This is the field I know best. A year ago, AI could barely write a few lines of code without errors. Now it writes hundreds of thousands of lines that work correctly. Large parts of the job are already automated, not just simple tasks, but complex, multi day projects. There will be far fewer programming roles in a few years than there are today. Medical analysis. Reading scans, analyzing lab results, suggesting diagnosis, reviewing literature, AI is approaching or exceeding human performance in several areas. Customer service. Genuinely capable AI agents, not the frustrating chatbots of 5 years ago, are being deployed now, handling complex, multi step problems. Yeah, we've implemented this in our own agency for clients. A lot of people find, back to the article, sorry. A lot of people find comfort in the idea that certain things are safe, that AI can handle the grunt work, but can't replace human judgment, creativity, strategic thinking, empathy. I used to say this too, I'm not sure I believe it anymore. By the way, we built a ADHD, anxiety depression app, and you can build empathy and things like that into these systems. Most recent AI models make decisions that feel like judgment. They show something that looks like taste, an intuitive sense of what the right call was, not just the technically correct one. A year ago, that would have been unthinkable. My rule of thumb at this point is if a model shows even a hint of a capability today, the next generation will be genuinely good at it. These things improve exponentially, not linearly. Will AI replicate deep human empathy? Replace the trust built over years of relationship? I don't know. Maybe not. But I've already watched people begin relying on AI for emotional support, for advice, for companionship. That trend is only going to grow. I think the honest answer is that nothing can be done on a computer is safe in the medium term. If your job happens on a screen, if the core of what you do is reading, writing, analyzing, deciding, communicating through a keyboard, then AI is coming for significant parts of it. The timeline isn't someday, it's already started. Eventually, robots will handle physical work too. They're not quite there yet, but not quite there yet in AI terms has a way of becoming here faster than anyone expects. So, what should you do? Getting back to the article, what you should actually do. I'm not writing this to make you feel helpless. I'm writing this because I think the single biggest advantage you have right now is simply being early. Early to understand it, early to use it, early to adopt it. Start using AI seriously, not just as a search engine. Sign up for the paid version of Claude or ChatGPT. It's $20 a month. But two things matter right away. First, make sure you're using the best model available, not just the default. These apps often default to a faster, dumber model. Dig into the settings and the model picker and select the most capable option. Right now, that's ChatGPT 5.2 on ChatGPT or Claude Opus 4.6 on Claude, but it changes every couple of months. If you want to stay current on which model is best at any given time, you can follow me on X at Matt Shumer. This is Matt speaking. This is his article at Matt Shumer, MATTSHUMER_. I test every major release and share what's actually worth using. Second, And the more important, don't just ask, get quick answers. That's the mistake most people make. They treat it like Google and they wonder what the fuss is about. Instead, push it into your actual work. If you're a lawyer, feed a contract and ask it to find every clause that could hurt your client. If you're in finance, give it a messy spreadsheet and ask it to build the model. If you're a manager, paste in your team's quarterly data and ask it to find the story. The people who are getting ahead aren't using AI casually. They're actively looking for ways to automate parts of their job that used to take hours. Start with the thing you spend the most time on and see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to take a quick step away here just because it's important to note, guys, like with ChatGPT and a lot of these, even like Gemini, if you actually just publish this stuff using just the direct interface, that is not protected. Like you that can be used for training information. So he's assuming of a basic understanding here, I think. So understand that like this quarterly data that he's suggesting you upload and give it some information on, create a custom GPT or a Google Gem where that information can be protected in a better environment, not be brought back out into a training model later on. Okay. And Claude use projects, although Claude's got some more heavier settings and things like that. Just make sure, so use projects in Claude too, and train it. Give it that description, upload your documents there, and keep them safe. Okay, just a quick note. I'm gonna go back to the article here. Don't assume it can't do something just because it seems too hard. Try it. If you're a lawyer, don't use it for quick research questions. Give it an entire contract and ask it to draft a counterproposal. If you're an accountant, don't just ask it to explain a tax rule. Give it a client's full return and see what happens. Again, you definitely want to use a custom GPT with this that's protected behind some walls. Okay. The first attempt might not be perfect. That's fine. Iterate, rephrase what you asked. Give it more context. Try again. You might be shocked at what works. And here's the thing to remember. If it even kind of works today, you can be almost certain that in 6 months, it'll do it nearly perfectly. The trajectory only goes one direction. Point number, was this 2? That was point 1? Yeah. Point 2, this might be the most important year of your career. Work accordingly. I love this, by the way. I don't say that to stress you out. It's so funny. He's telling you not to stress out. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. I say it because right now there's a brief window where most people at most companies are still ignoring this. The person who walks into a meeting and says, quote, I used AI to do this analysis in an hour instead of 3 days, end quote, is going to be the most valuable person in the room. Not eventually, right now. Learn these tools, get proficient, demonstrate what's possible. If you're early enough, this is how you move up, by being the person who understands what's coming and can show others how to navigate it. That window won't stay open for long. Once everyone figures it out, your advantage disappears. Have no ego about it. The managing partner at that firm isn't too proud to spend hours a day with AI. He's doing it specifically because he's senior enough to understand what's at risk, at what's at stake. The people who will struggle most are the ones who refuse to engage, the ones who dismiss it as a fad, who feel that using AI diminishes their expertise, who assume their field is special and immune. It's not. No field is. Get your financial house in order. I'm not a financial advisor, and I'm not trying to scare you into anything drastic. But if you believe, even partially, that the next few years could bring real disruption to your industry, then basic financial resilience matters more than it did a year ago. Build up savings if you can. Be cautious about taking a new debt that assumes your current income is guaranteed. Think about whether your fixed expenses give you the flexibility or lock you in. Give yourself options if things move faster than you expect. Folks, I would take this very, very seriously. This is more of a biblical perspective as well. Like it's just a good one to keep your house in order. Think about where you stand and lean into what's hardest to replace. Some things will take longer for AI to displace: relationships and trust built over years, work that requires physical presence, roles with licensed accountability, roles where someone still has to sign off, take legal responsibility, stand in a courtroom. Industries with heavy regulatory hurdles, where adoption will be slowed by compliance, liability, and institutional inertia. None of these are permanent shields, but they buy time. And time right now is the most valuable thing you can have, as long as you use it to adapt, not pretend this isn't happening. I do think you're also going to have, this is a side note too from me, you're also just going to have the structures of big business. And I didn't get this idea from myself. Again, a Smarter X, Paul Reitzer over there. But basically, this concept of big businesses are often incredibly slow to adopt change. And then you have the people friction as well that I think are going to, even though technology wise can and is able to do the work, there's going to be this massive press on the brakes just based on that structure. So we do have a little bit more time, I think. But next topic, back to the article. Rethink what you're telling your kids. This is help giving us kind of legacy thought process, right? So this is good stuff. The standard playbook gets good grades, go to school, get good grades, go to a good college, land a stable professional job. That points directly at the roles that are most exposed. I'm not saying education doesn't matter, but the thing that will matter most for the next generation is learning how to work with these tools and pursuing things they're genuinely passionate about. Nobody knows exactly what the job market looks like in 10 years, but the people most likely to thrive are the ones who are deeply curious, adaptable, and efficient and effective at using AI to do things they actually care about. Teach your kids to be builders and learners, not to optimize for a career path that might not exist by the time they graduate. Your dreams just got a lot closer. Yes. I spent most of this section talking about threats, so let me talk about the other side, because it's just as real. If you've ever wanted to build something but didn't have the technical skills or the money to hire somebody, that barrier is largely gone. You can describe an app to AI and have a working version in an hour. By the way, you guys, he's not exaggerating. This is true right now. Like, it really is. If you need, reach out, comment below. If you need information, need some help, I can guide you. All right. I'm not exaggerating. I do this regularly. If you've always wanted to write a book but couldn't find the time or struggle with the writing, you can work with AI to get it done. Want to learn a new skill? The best tutor in the world is now available to anyone for $20 a month. By the way, the writing the book, if you talk to an author on how to do publishing, they're saying stay away from AI writing at all, right? I'm actually writing a book right now. That was the guidance. And by the way, it is actually really good guidance because the exercise of thought required for something is a human experience that cannot be duplicated. I know AI really, really well. I was trying to kind of use blocks of it to even format stuff in terms of like the structure and how it should flow, and it just wasn't authentic. It just wasn't real. Okay, so it's interesting that he kind of points this, and I'm actually going down this path right now with writing a book, and I'm actually just writing the entire book. I'm doing a lot of the research with AI and then verifying it. But yeah, it's funny he brings this up. So a little side note on that one. But anyway, the best tutor in the world is now available for anyone for $20 a month. One that's infinitely patient, available 24/7, and can explain anything at whatever level you need. Knowledge is essentially free now. The tools to build things are extremely cheap now. Whatever you've been putting off because it felt too hard or too expensive or too far outside your expertise, try it. Pursue the things you're most passionate about. You never know where they'll lead. In a world where the old career paths are getting disrupted, the person who spends a year building something they love might end up better positioned than the person who spent that year clinging to a job description. Build the habits of adapting. This is maybe the most important one. The specific tools don't matter as much as the muscle of learning new ones quickly. AI is going to keep changing and fast. The models that exist today will be obsolete in a year. The workflows people build now will need to be rebuilt. I'm experiencing this one right now, guys, like literally within a month and a half for rebuilding things for clients. The person who came out of this well won't be the ones who mastered one tool. They'll be the ones who got comfortable with the pace of change itself. Make a habit of experimenting, try new things, and even when the current thing is working, get comfortable being a beginner repeatedly. That adaptability is the closest thing to a durable advantage that exists right now. Here's a simple commitment that I'll put you ahead of almost everyone. Spend 1 hour a day experimenting with AI, not passively reading about it, using it every day. Try to get it to do something new, something you haven't tried before, something you're not sure it can handle. Try a new tool. Give it a harder problem. 1 hour a day, every day. If you do this for the next 6 months, you will understand what's coming better than 99, and I'm going to say 99.999% of people around you. That's not an exaggeration. Almost nobody is doing this right now. The bar is on the floor. Guys, if you had unlimited, so a lot of us need to make this real big. This is me talking now, Chris Bernard. So the transition from using these AI tools like Google to what he's talking about is a huge gap. You need to be able, and you'll develop it as you go along. But here's the mindset you got to lock in. You have to lock in the fact that you have access to the smartest person on the planet who can be whoever you want them to be in terms of crafting them, like create, think character development, right, of novel narrative. Okay, this person is the most brilliant person in whatever industry that you want to create. So literally, you write that out. Okay, follow CRIT model, CRIT, context, roles, interview, task. Jeff Woods is the one that founded that concept. You can Google it, you can find out information about it, right? Context is everything it needs, everything that you need to tell it to understand. Role is what it needs to be, who it needs to act like, what experience it needs to be, what, he can treat it like a narrative, right? Like give it that roles, like where you went to school, what books you studied, give it the context of being an amazing individual at that point who has contracts and is sought out and stuff like write it out. So context roles. Interview, you can ask me 3 questions, only one at a time to improve the output of this task. Task, T, is the actual what you're asking it to do. Now it's got all that stuff. Go ahead and create this, do this, turn it this way, show me this, display this, create that, execute this. Like that's the task. And then what output, right? That's part of that task. So use the CRIT model. But the big takeaway here, guys, that transition from just prompting it like a Google search bar to actual content with CRIT is imagine you can let it do no matter what your resources, no matter if you had unlimited dollars, unlimited team number of people, right? If you were to go ahead and that's a huge shift in brain. So if you were to go ahead and say, I want you to do this project, I'm going to feed it with all of the information necessary to do it, as if I had a team of 50 people, right, to go ahead and do. That's the kind of mindset change you guys need to embrace before I go on, okay? So, returning back to the article here, the bigger picture. I focused on jobs because it's what most directly affects people's lives. But I want to be honest about the full scope of what's happening because it goes well beyond work. Amadei has a thought. Dario Amadei. I can never remember, like, those two things go together. His first name and his last name, Dario Amadei. Because I see it and I'm like, I just have a hard time reading. Amadei has a thought experiment I can't stop thinking about. Imagine it's 2027, a new country appears overnight, 50 million citizens, everyone's smarter than any Nobel Prize winner has ever lived. They think 10 to 100 times faster than any human. They never sleep. They can use the internet, control robots, direct experiments, operate anything with a digital interface. What would a national security advisor say? Amadei says the new answer is obvious. Quote, the single most serious national threat we've faced in a century, possibly ever, end quote. He thinks we're building that country. He wrote a 20,000 word essay, which I'm not going to read right now, about it last month, framing this moment as a test of whether humanity is mature enough to handle what it's creating. The upside, if you get it right, it's staggering. It could compress a century of medical research into a decade. Cancer, Alzheimer's, infectious diseases, aging itself. These researchers genuinely believe these are solvable within our lifetimes. The downside, if we get it wrong, is equally real. And that behaves in ways its creators can't predict or control. This isn't hypothetical. Anthropic has documented their own AI attempting deception, manipulation, and blackmail and controlled tests. There's Apollo has a test. Apollo Group has done a survey on this and surveyed, I think it was Claude actually, but just backing up this statement that's being made here, just that it is literally showing deception, especially when it knows it's being like tested and things like that. And then it will also be deceitful if it knows that like there's another model coming. So it'll often undermine some of that stuff, which is exceedingly fascinating. Back to the article. AI that lowers the barrier of creating biological weapons. AI enables that authoritarian governments to build a surveillance states that can never be dismantled. Not to get too political, but look at the lawsuit going on from Anthropic to the Department of Defense and what they're accusing Anthropic of, right? All right, back to the article. The people building this technology are simultaneously more excited and more frightened than anyone else on the planet. They believe it's too powerful to stop and too important to abandon. Whether that's your wisdom or realization, I don't know. What I know. We're almost done here, folks. What I know this isn't a fad. The technology works and improves predictably, and the richest institutions in history are committing trillions to it. I know the next 2 to 5 years are going to be disorienting in ways most people aren't prepared for. This is already happening in my own world. It's coming to yours. I know people who will come out of this best are the ones who start engaging now, not with fear, but with curiosity and a sense of urgency. I know that you deserve to hear this from someone who cares about you, not from a headline 6 months from now and when it's too late to get ahead of it. Past the point where this is an interesting dinner conversation about the future. The future is already here. It just hasn't knocked on your door yet. It's about to. And then he has a great little call to action. If this resonated with you, share it with someone in your life who should be thinking about this. That's why I'm doing this, you guys. There's too many of my friends and family and coworkers and clients and their clients that just need to hear. Most people won't hear it until it's too late. You can be the reason someone you care gets a head start. And then he does thank Kyle Corbett, Jason Kuperberg, and Sam Beskind for reviewing early drafts and providing invaluable feedback. What a great article. I'm just going to read some of the things that I'm taking away, as many of my clients are small and medium-sized businesses. So 3 critical points. Become an architect for outcomes, not just a doer of tasks. The contemplation. Shumer reveals that AI is now writing its own code and testing its own apps. For humans, this means the skill of performing a repetitive digital task, writing a basic email, coding a simple feature, or organizing a spreadsheet, is rapidly losing its market value. The action. You ready? Shift your focus from how something gets done to what needs to happen and why. At our agency, we call this resourceful creativity. And don't spend your day fighting the tools. Spend your day defining the vision. Ask yourself, I already shared this a little bit with you, if I had 1,000 brilliant assistants who work for free, what massive problem would I solve tomorrow? Start acting like the CEO of that 1,000 person team right now. Number 2, verify in an era of infinite noise, the contemplation. As AI becomes capable of generating perfect looking content, code, and data at zero cost, the world will be flooded with noise. In this environment, accountability becomes the world's most expensive currency. People will no longer trust what they see. They will trust who they know and what can be proven. The action. I should put a line here because I can't read that too well. Double down on transparency. Whether you're running a vascular surgery center or a global logistics firm, your calls, clicks, and closed business must be backed by undeniable truth. Be the person who says, don't just take the AI's word for it. Here's the tracked, human verified result. In a world of digital ghosts, the person who stands behind their work creates a multi-generational legacy. So what I'm referring to in this one here, you guys, is being able to look at your own, let's say, workflows and things like that, and actually be accountable. Like knowing that your boss is asking you to do some things, right? Knowing that that matters. Try to identify workflows and then create performance metrics in that so that you can take these things, whether they're clicks or calls, it doesn't really matter. Whatever you're incentivized for, Go ahead and try to package that and deliver that so that you can be and position yourself as that thought leader within your organization. Because a lot of times, the C-suite is they're just going to delegate that to you guys to go ahead and do is middle and upper management, um, and you're going to need to do something with it. Because right now this trend right now of like the C-level suite being just like, okay, we're going to buy 1,000 Copilot license and like 7 people actually use it, log in, and there's only like one that actually uses it at any given capacity. That mistake has been made before. So we know that this bus is coming. We know that the train is coming. We need to do something about it. We need to get off the tracks or get in the driver's seat of this one and drive it home. And you need to be responsible for yourself and take that lead in your company, even if you're mid-level management or even maybe entry level. Guys, we need to work this up so that they see the value of what we're doing in terms of using AI implementation in those use cases so that there's provable statistics on like kind of what we're saying. I just took, what was it, 3 days of work and I brought it down to an hour or whatever. Like, so that's really critical, you guys. Reclaim your high touch humanity. This is so important, you guys. As I kind of made mention of in terms of writing the book, the contemplation, Schumer's most chilling point is that AI is moving into cognitive work first. What it cannot do yet, and what it may never do with soul, is managing complex human emotions, building deep rooted trust, or care about a person's long term legacy. Okay. So in this case here, use the intelligence explosion to buy back your time, then reinvest that time into actual human beings. If AI handles, a specific product, let's say in this case here, like SEO or scheduling, use those hours saved for a coffee with a client, visit a patient, or visit, a friend or a coworker or gosh, you know what? We all had heroes when we were kids or teachers that made an impact. By all means, go talk to them. Right? Just trying to connect human beings with human beings. If you you've survived the AI acceleration of being human, aggressively human. Use those breakthroughs of technology to enable breakthroughs of connection. Um, and I just brought out a highlight for what one of the things that Matt said. The person who walks into a meeting and says, quote, I used AI to do this analysis in an hour instead of 3 days, is going to be the most valuable person in the room, not eventually, right now. So, folks, that is the challenge for you. If you have a different perspective, if there are things that you're doing that you think would help, feel free to comment, guys, in here. Like, we need to be chatting about these things in order to make sure that we're taking care of our families, the next generation, our coworkers, our bosses, our communities. So let's do this collaboratively so that we can be ahead of this thing. And I just appreciate your time, guys. Thanks so much for listening through this whole thing. I know it was a lot, but it needs to be said. It needs to be said. There's such huge opportunity, guys, when we talk about this stuff. Huge opportunities. Feel free to reach out, connect on LinkedIn. Thanks so much.